I'm doing a joint live today with two of my dearest friend, Wando, our beautiful, joyful, happy monk, and also Brandon. This is going to be so exciting. I'm so happy to have them joining me. Also, I'm going live on YouTube. If some of you guys want to join me on YouTube, you're more than welcome to do that. But I would think, yes, yes, it's so nice to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. It's a beautiful Thursday. And 3 days ago, to be exact, I got guided to start a 21 days challenge. Um, and it's based on my daily practices and overall teachings. From the moment that I wake up, I realize the ego mind has also awakened with me. So the practice would be at any second or moment, I am the awareness. And in that awareness, I am aware that I am not the ego mind. The one who's talking, it's not me, it's the thinking machine. And I did a reel today and I said, we wake up every day, we become conscious, and we say, oh, I was dreaming last night. And if we're not mindful enough, we can get dragged in to ego mind and believing the story of the past, entering the matrix, and the ego mind will constantly pulls us in the old story. So day after day, we're watching this story that is not pleasant, but we feel that we don't have any choice, that we have to watch this old movie day after day after day. So coming back to the challenge that we all starting, and I'm so happy that you all decided to join me, because if you really take this exercise or this practice seriously and you keep practicing it day after day, you would realize very soon that how much better you feel. This exercise will give you the chance to be really experiencing the silence within. So, now I would like to know who has started doing this daily practice. Say I. Who, who is doing this exercise, doing this practice? And I know, guys, you don't have to tell me that this is really hard. Of course, it's hard because we've been kind of feeling like we are in a jail. Most of us, we feel that we are in jail and we have no control of making our own realities. Pejman said, I do. Fantastic, Pejman. Sarah said, I have started. Great, guys. And tell me, how do you feel? Like every second, when you are the awareness, when you're conscious that the thinking machine is doing its job, the thinking machine is talking, having a experience, but you are not it. Oh, Brandon is here. Brandon, welcome, welcome, welcome. I have accepted your request. Good morning, Brandon.
Hi, Sudi. How are you?
I am great. It's so great to see you again.
Likewise. It's been a little while.
I know I miss you guys.
Yeah, likewise.
So, where are you right now?
In Austin, Texas.
Beautiful, beautiful. Ventrado is also here. So, how is it going? Good morning,
Things are
Wendell.
really great.
First of all, meet our beautiful, amazing, great monk.
You? Yeah, great to meet you. I'm very well. How are you? Good, good, good. It's going to be a wonderful topic today. Yeah, I'm excited.
It would be, yes. So let's hear from Brandon because I haven't seen him for a while.
Just generally checking in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, things are good. Had a recent move to another part of Austin. A lot changing. Last 6 months has been a lot of change, a lot of surrender. That's been pretty leading edge in my life. It's just embodying a surrendered experience. So yeah,
Beautiful. Yes. And shall we dive into our topic, healing cellular memory? I think um, this is so effective in our daily lives. So I'm going to let you start, Brandon.
yeah. When I think of cellular memory, two things come to mind. Number one is how, and in the context of the non-dual understanding, the Vedantic point of view, we're holding both a stored memory from the past while simultaneously understanding that the past is a thought. And so it's a experience of cause and effect while simultaneously observing how our mind is causing effects. So in one hand, seeing through the identification as a separate self located in time and space that would make the past the cause of trauma that we might be playing out right now. Unconscious patterns, self-sabotage, this sort of idea. Being able to see through that construct can be a direct path to healing cellular memory, but it has to be genuine. And for most people, it could intellectually make sense, but the fear of letting go of the pattern outweighs the logic and just the mental understanding of we are not a separate self, that at our core, the awareness that we are is not limited to time and space, or doesn't share in the limitations of our body. So upon a genuine realization of this, then in my direct experience, you just can't find a reason to fight against the emotion, the urge, the fear as it comes up. Mm-hmm. And there is a very subtle movement towards the emotion, towards the experience that dissolves it, rather than wanting to being adverse to a trigger, trauma, whatever it might be. And there's an opening in that moment, and the emotion, I think the science says that emotions are felt for about 90 seconds. Anything beyond 90 seconds, we're perpetuating an emotional response. Mm-hmm. So going towards it, which is more of the tantric point of view, going towards the experience with no need to heal, no need to change or manipulate, but simply allowing it to be experienced in awareness, is the most, for most people, scary, but also direct path to realizing there's no actual threat here and now. Mm-hmm. And that the default is surrender. So we can't force a surrender. We can't push ourselves to surrender. We can't even really choose to surrender, but we can just undo the reasons that make it make sense to fight against. So just to tie it up, yes, we can go direct in the sense that I can realize that the threat to me that I'm experiencing that I might be identifying as a threat from my past, the me that I'm referring to is not actually who and what I am. And there can be an opening in that moment. And a lot of people can use the past to depersonalize their experience. Go, oh, wait a second, this isn't about me. This is about my past. And it's a permission slip to make it not personal. And right in that experience as well, there can be a release, because all of a sudden the person's not identifying with it. They think discovering it in the past and the source of it and the root of it what gave them the healing. But it was actually their permission to say, oh, that has nothing to do with this version of me. And they disassociate from it in a positive way and allow the experience to metabolize. So I'd say those are the two paths to really, healing the cellular memory of our past.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Brandon. Shall we move on to Trido, when our monk friend, he got a lot to say about this, coming up from the part of mindfulness.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Love you, of course. My pleasure.
It's amazing that the Buddha gave us instructions, a methodology to address this issue long for science is now catching up to the healing of the cellular level of the memory.
Trido, I'm so sorry, but we can't hear you very clearly. You might.
Hear me?
Yes, it got better. Don't go back. Just get glued to the Instagram.
Sorry, it was you're a fan here on the laptop. So I said the Buddha left us a methodology on how to address this, and it is just now science catching up to validate the Buddha's claims and his methods. Strategic method, actually. So when, just like Brandon said, and the science behind all of this, the causes of all of this, the root cause of it is to ensure our survival. Our bodies needed to do what it needs to do in the details of science of what happened and how, when our senses are activated and it just seeps into the subconscious and unconscious mind, then it just goes all over our body, thinking about it, how it happened, why it happened, how it happened, why it happened, recycling it in a very vicious way that causes a lot of ailments, a lot of ulcers, a lot of irritable bowel syndrome issues. And, and then comes the Buddha, and then now comes science that is telling us how we can reprogram what's happening to our bodies. And the Buddha's method, of course, back in the day when the Buddha said to do something, people trusted him and trusted the process. So they didn't have to question so much. And I understand from the Western world, matter of fact, I understand from human perspective and standpoint why we have to question, like, does meditation actually work? Was the Buddha actually real? Who was he? And why do you think this works? And how does this actually work? Likewise, we have antibiotics out there that we don't really fully understand the mechanics of it, but we know that it works because it yielded the result that it did.
Right.
So the Buddha taught us loving kindness meditation. He taught us samadhi meditation, the one-pointed concentration technique. He taught us insight meditation, to see things as they are. One of the most damning thing about the cellular memory is that it misinterprets the event. That's causing so much toxicity within the mitochondria. It's crazy to think about it from like a micro perspective. That again, the misinterpreted misinterpret and not see things as they are.
Mm-hmm.
It should be profoundly reflected, seeing things as they are. And that's rooted in Vipassana meditation, is to help to see things as they are, what actually transpired versus what, how we construct a different narrative. And we actually believe the lies that we have told ourselves, and how that manifests into the, just the health problems that we see. And of course, you're going to look like hell. You're going to feel like hell, and you're going to look like hell after believing that narrative. So upon reflecting my own trauma, upon reflecting my own journey, I'm living proof right now in front of all of you that I've been through hell multiple times and back. Like I've lost everything in my life 3 times. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you the amount of deaths that I have experienced, including the death of my grandmother, which propelled me to become a monk, the death of my best friend, and 5 other friends that died, and I didn't know how to deal with it. The key word here is the how to mm-hmm. deal with it. And just the ups and downs in life that threw me sideways, that threw me underneath the bus. One becomes a monk because life was not going well. I didn't sit back and enjoy $1 million, with the pina colada in Hawaii. One becomes a monk because he has seen suffering very clearly, the magnitude of his suffering, the depth of my suffering. And, I decided to not side with the lawyer in my head, and decided to exercise willpower and said, okay, I'm going to do something about this. And Brandon earlier said, giving up was one of the most profound things he said in the beginning of this video, was giving up, which is renunciation, which is one of the 10 perfections in Buddhism, is just give up. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? That means give up the lawyer in your head that's causing you so much problems. When we reflect back and think back about this lawyer in our head, how it affects our effective decision-making process, how it really jumps in there and just tells us, oh no, you got this. You got this without Sudi's help. You got this without Brandon's help. You got this without Jidao's help. And no, you need to ask yourself, how well is this working out for you? Trying to deal with things on your own without the assistance of a true, authentic, experienced teacher. And so, the Buddha also challenged us in the Kalama Sutta to also, number one, ask, how is everything working out for you? And if it's not working out and you feel like hell and you look like hell, that means there's a lot of cellular changes in your body. There is neuroinflammation, there are different types of inflammations, and you are at risk for developing cancer and ulcer and all of these very negative things that is mind and body correlation. And so once you have answered that question, well, if it's not working out, time to talk to Brandon, time to talk to Sudi, time to talk to these teachers that is appearing in front of you, and try out different methods. And of course, if you look up the cellular memory healing process, there are different types of methods. So my take on it is that, approach this with a curiosity, look at the science behind it, look at the validation of science behind it, look at the methods that is being presented to us in modern day, look at the methods that is being presented to us in the text, in the sacred text of things that have worked 2,566 years ago. And you join the two together. It complements each other, the contemporariness of the science and the previous methods used a long time ago. And then, hopefully it works out for you. But I'd now like to yield the floor for our other guest. And then I think we can have a mutual conversation thereafter. Thank you.
Beautiful. Jeff, your turn.
So Sudi almost insisted that I join this thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I have anything to add. But, I think that in kind of the, just listening to what everyone said.
I don't know why Jeff is saying that, because every time we have a conversation on the phone, I cannot stop him. But now today he's saying, I said, Trust me, you have everything to say about everything.
Sometimes it's wise to just shut up and listen. And I feel like this is one of those moments, but you insist that I'm here. So I would say that one of the things I find challenging, and I don't have the answer, so that's why I feel like I shouldn't be speaking, but I feel like one of the challenges of life is, when I think about this concept of cellular healing, and maybe I'm wrong, but there's often this idea of trying to return to that innocence that we had as a child, and that somehow we were born as this perfection. And then, as we start to experience suffering in the world and affliction and trauma and all that stuff, we start to form these neural pathways. And, then the being human part, it happens. And, all of us here and all the people that are watching and all the people out there in the world, we all experience suffering in our own ways and our own personal hells and all of those things. And the challenge is we get to this point where that's a noble goal. It's a noble goal to say, well, we want to return to that. And at the same time, it's the suffering that gives us the character that we have. It's the suffering that gives us the maturity that we have, especially for anybody that might be on this call or anyone else out there that would, assert to be any sort of guide for anyone else. It's like, what does it mean to be a guide for anyone else? It means we've suffered and we've survived, and we think about people like the Buddha or, Jesus in the Bible. I mean, these great prophets and teachers, like, they suffered more than anybody, and they're like, well, and I've survived and I've got something to say about it. So, often, oh man, I'm going to get this wrong because I'm talking, but I know we've all heard that phrase that wisdom. What is it? Wisdom is the result of experience. Result is the experience of bad judgment, or something like that, or good judgment is the result of bad experience, and bad experience is the result of bad judgment, or whatever that is. So how, I guess for me, just trying to really get and unpack the question as much as possible, because I kind of that's where I tend to sit and focus, is how can a person, I get the meditation tip, I like the physiology of things because I think it's stuff that most people can do. And what is our ultimate goal as an adult, where we have this kind of duality where we want to pursue as much healing as possible and return our body to a state of vitality, while not, I guess, maybe not fully giving up on, and I heard the word surrender, but maybe not fully forfeiting the kind of suffering gained wisdom, experience gained wisdom that we may then be able to share with, here we're sharing it with people of our own, perhaps our own age or slightly younger. If we have kids, we would want to share that experience with our kids to be a good parent. So how do we navigate, how do we negotiate those two things to find that happy medium?
Mm-hmm. Who wants to jump in? If you guys want to jump in, I'm going to let you go first.
Brandon, you pointed to me. Thank you, Jeff. It's nice to meet you. When you were doing this, as I was talking, I'm like, we got a critic already. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna have it. So now, first and foremost, I like to recorrect some things real quick to help people think. First of all, when I say look like hell and feel like hell, it's not meant in a judgmental way. Okay. But I've been known to be very straightforward in my descriptions and adjectives, so that people understand, when we, look ourselves in the mirror, and truly, again, when you are perpetual recycling of the past, that it would be depression, definition of depression. And if you're constantly apprehending the future, that would be definition of anxiety. Really, you really look like hell, and one has to be really honest with oneself about, man, this is not working out for me. The word renunciation about giving up is not giving up total, not giving up everything about you, the word renunciation, but remember in Buddhism is all about the middle way, the definition of the middle way for you. And my definition of the middle way for me is very different from all of you, any of you. You know, like I go rock climbing on the weekends. That's my middle way. It's like extreme sports. And they're like, well, aren't you supposed to be Zen? I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm Zen on the weekdays, and on the weekends, I need to like take care of myself. You know, just because you don't recycle the past, I sometimes recycle the past. And if I'm rock climbing, I'm not thinking about the past. So when we look at the middle way, I mean, this is why teachers and guides and coaches are here to help you define the middle way. And part of, again, giving up, renunciation is the lawyer in your head. I'm telling you, this is the one thing that is so darning in keeping you to be the full potential you. When we talk about cellular healing, we're talking about revitalizing, reinvigorating, replenishing yourself. You know, literally a splash of fresh air. And I spoke about the cycle of birth and death in one of my videos that blew up really quick, really fast on TikTok. I said, you know, every moment you are born again, the birth of a thought, the death of a thought, birth of a thought, death of a thought. If you are not mindful at the time of this talk, if you are not mindful to the sound and voice that I'm projecting right now, and the whole time you've been thinking about my own trauma, okay, that you're not mindful. People who are not mindful during this conversation will have all the hundreds of thoughts over the past minutes. So again, when you observe the mechanics of your mind, the workings of your mind about when you woke up, what were you thinking? Oh, I gotta go to work. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, I gotta call my ex. Oh, I gotta pick up my kids, right? Then you get in the car, start the car. All those thoughts probably died, and you are now generating new thoughts and emotions attached to those thoughts. The construct of emotions, and thank goodness for all the years of research concluded that what is the mechanic of emotions? It's just guesses. Just guesses. So I can actually evoke emotions right now just based on my faith. If I give you a face like this, you're like, oh shoot, this is not good. You're already worried. What is the venerable doing? Oh, he's not happy. I can do this. Emotions are already generated because you're making guesses about what you think is going to happen. So again, when you look at the noble truth and what the Buddha said about samsara, and you're more mindful of it, you're using the mind to fix the mind. You're using the one thing that causes you a lot of problems to fix itself. We're training you to be the referee, to kind of sit back and hold the whistle, and you're supposed to blow the whistle whenever you catch these defilements in your head, these unwholesome thoughts in your head. So, that's why in order for you to begin meditation, I tell people some of these easy steps is to stop the drama or try to lessen the drama in your life, whatever's going on, baby mama drama, the in-laws, the friends, the partying, the precepts, not keeping the precept or not keeping the commandments, all right? It would adversely affect your experience in meditation, the beginning stages of it. So, after everything, we try to get you to practice the one-pointed concentration technique so that your lake is no longer disturbed and you can actually, have a clear lake where you can see through it, through waters, so that you have some clarity in your life. Look at the blueprint in your life, the details of your life. Why is it so hectic right now? In America, people move 100 miles an hour. You are the hamster on the hamster wheel. You need to be able to recognize that, to see that. We teachers will ask you, Aaron, Tom, do you see that you're on the wheel? Yes or no? And hopefully they're able to say yes. Because if they don't, and I'm hearing their narrative and I am able to point it out to them, again, hopefully they acknowledge it or reflect on it deep enough and long enough to see it and not side with the lawyer in their head. So anyways, there are just little tiny steps. And I do this with a one-on-one sessions, the art of Buddhist psychotherapy. But it has to start with the Buddhist psychotherapy before we get any further, is to identify the problems effectively. And, and hopefully people start giving up something, giving up the drama, giving up the old way in their old day, and trying to help you find the middle way along the process. The process is not an easy task, and it may not be a quick task. It may not be a quick, easy fix that everyone in the class is looking for, but committing to it. Today we are just identifying the problem and talking about potential solutions to the problem. It is up to you, the listeners and students out there, who are okay. We think that we get you guys, and looking at the details of your life and how you're going to commit to this path, the spirit path, knowing yourself and wanting to heal yourself with the many methods that we present. Yeah, this it can get really big on this subject. So I'm going to yield the floor now to Brandon. I think Brandon just paused a little bit.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in until we get Brandon back. I'm just this is my practice, and I'm just going to put it out there. I think Jeff is very familiar with my teaching, and I think one of the biggest issues is that people really don't take this practice seriously. And so the other day I said, I'm just going to start up a 21-day challenge, and whoever wants to jump in, because this has been my experience. Like I keep repeatedly saying, and I'm living this, that when I wake up in the morning, the first minute that I become conscious that I have waken up, I am aware. It's just like awareness. It's something that is, I use it as a tool, if I may say so, right? So I am aware that this awareness is right here. And wherever I bring this awareness into anything, it will just dissolve and remove whatever situation, whatever is going on in the outer world. So first thing in the morning, I wake up and I realize, oh, I was sleeping last night and I was dreaming. And I'm saying, be very careful, mindful, that if you don't use the awareness as a tool, you just woke up from one dream and you're going to enter another dream. Your mind ego will take over, pull you into this matrix, and is going to run the same old movie. Once upon a time, you were a child, and this was the drama, and this was the trauma, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And because the mind, the subconscious mind, has all of this recorded, all these events are recorded in your subconscious mind, all of this recorded in your emotional body, and all of this information is recorded in your physical body. We all know by now that so often people have session with me and they're like, I have this problem, I have this issues in the physical body, and I have been going to many different doctors. They did all these tests and they're telling me nothing is actually wrong with me. And we call these psychosomatic diseases, right? Because it's only created in the mind. And we all know that. The parts that I'm not getting is, why don't we realize that all of this is recorded, yes, true, in your subconscious mind, in your emotional body, in your physical body, but you need to be separating yourself from the mind that has created all this thing, because I call the mind the thinking machine. The mind is the factory that is constantly producing thought. And if we identify as this is me, we're going to constantly going to listen to this conversation, and this conversation is constantly going to the past, or going, as Trido said, is either in the past or is jumping into the future. Therefore, what's happening, I become the story, and day after day I'm just believing my self thoughts that I'm not smart enough, I'm not sharp enough, I can't be successful. All those old beliefs, all the viruses that are in the mind. So, what I'm saying, instead of trying to correct the past, even if that we think that we've been through so many traumas, so many people are lost in healing the past. And I'm saying, you still going into the past. This is an extra process that doesn't need to take place. All you have to do is to realize you are not your past and you are not your story, and separate yourself from this thinking machine. Once you separate yourself from the thinking machine, you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotion, you are not your physical body. And I keep repeatedly saying, how often in the day you use the awareness as a tool to know that you could be the ego who's sitting all the way up there with the open, sharp lens that's seeing the whole floor and the whole ground. And it's not, the movie doesn't become about you. And this is how you experience to be selfless. When it's not, when you don't wake up in the morning and you get dragged into this matrix, oh my God, my past, I'm so broken, I need healing. So why don't I do this? Why don't I do that? So basically, if anybody really do this practice, every second, the awareness constantly, we're switching. We are aware, we are unaware, we are conscious, we are unconscious. But it's, if I take responsibility that I am the awareness and I can be the awareness, I just don't let myself to get drowned in with the ego mind. Then right here, this moment, what is your thoughts on this, guys? Brandon, is your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Sudi. That was really great. And yeah, it brings up a couple points. I'm with you 100% on awareness being an ocean that can dissolve anything that arises within it when we are abiding knowingly as awareness and not attached or holding on to the thought. But so many people here holding on to thoughts, holding on to the past, and automatically imply that they need to let go of a thought or a past. So then the solution becomes, how do I let go of a past? How do I let go of a thought? And if I asked anyone that was repeating a thought over and over, I just said, just let it go. They're probably just going to get more frustrated. They're going, well, if I could just press a button and let it go, I would have done that by now. So we can't let go of thoughts. Thoughts are ephemeral. They come and go. But if we're repeating thoughts, it's because there's a reason, typically unconscious, that we are holding on to that thought. And so it's less about, and like Sudi's talking about, she's speaking of a direct path, which goes, let me go to awareness and see clearly that my awareness doesn't share the limitations of the body mind. And that is essentially what I am. It's the only unchanging aspect of my experience. Everything else changes. Everything rises and falls. Everything born in time ends in time. But awareness wasn't born in time. None of us have a direct experience of going, well, this is where I was before I was aware.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. We weren't aware of that. So awareness can never cease to exist. This is the true understanding of this isn't a way of overcoming death. It's a way of seeing that death doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Death to awareness doesn't exist. So again, the path of effort is, let me overcome death. Let me let go of my thoughts. Let me, affirm my way to a positive mind. And we're just going to spin our wheels and be disappointed if we're taking that path eventually. So the effortless path is more of the path of questioning. I'll just give an example because about healing cellular memory from the past. If there's a past incident that you're recycling over and over, and I can relate, I've had many incidences that I've recycled. The first distinction is going back. If there's Sudi's path, which is a direct path, and that would be considered the Advaita Vedanta direct path. And then there's a progressive path for some people with the direct path. At least I don't know if you've experienced this, Sudi. I've experienced some people are so rigidly in the ego, and I can relate because I've been there, that the direct path it seems out of reach because it's so simple and so direct. The mind has all of its reasons not to believe that it can be that simple and direct. So unless they have a focused experience with a teacher or someone that they can continue to bring all of the objections to then finally create that moment of release in the mind, of relaxation in the mind, then the direct path is exactly what it is called, direct. But if you go to that moment, a moment that is troubling you from the past, and the first layer is separating reality from thinking. And that means the conclusion that you will inevitably arrive at is that reality is kind. There's no experience in reality that is fundamentally maleficent or negative. That reality is this neutral, kind expression, and that we're not upset at what physically happened. We're upset at our thinking about what happened that we're holding on to and recycling now. So that's our first step out of the illusion, because if we can't make that distinction, then the thing in the past that we are so certain that is the cause of our suffering, we'll spend our life trying to avoid in the future. And that's like driving in a car and staring in the rearview mirror going, man, I really don't want to experience that thing back there again. Well, you're going to crash eventually over and over and over. So when you go to that moment and you make the first separation of, actually wasn't the experience, it was my thinking about the experience. It was my unconscious and innocently assumed meaning and how I defined myself in relationship to this experience that hurt me. And since I've been repeating that narrative ever since, maybe thousands of times, well, I've hurt myself way more than that one event. So now we're starting to see, okay, it's these unquestioned, innocently assumed thoughts. And when you go back to a moment and you really investigate your experience, you see that you didn't even choose that thought. You didn't choose to make the experience mean that you're lacking something, you're unworthy, you're powerless, you're not loved. You didn't choose those beliefs. Those were automatically assumed, conditioned reactions that have to play themselves out. So you can't blame another person. And if you really investigate, you'll see that no one is to blame. That there was just conditioning playing out that has brought you to a moment of being able to reconcile the conditioning now. And so when you really start to isolate the thoughts about the experience, the thoughts specifically about yourself, and really powerful question to ask is are these thoughts true? Am I powerless? Was I neglected and not loved because this happened? And when you really sit with that question, are these thoughts facts about who I am? And what am I referring to? Who am I? And you really start to separate the experience from the thinking and then question the thinking. The cellular memory, like was said before, is responding to our thinking and believing, our thinking and feeling, not to reality. So you change the thinking and feeling, now your body goes, oh, that experience is not a threat to me anymore.
Mm.
So instead of trying to avoid it, well, my arms are wide open to it. And that's when the full cycle of integration kind of crystallizes, when I can genuinely say, I'm open to all of this trauma that I experienced. I'm open to it happening again if it needs to, because it's pointed me back to myself. And we're talking self with a capital I that has never been hurt, harmed, altered, diminished, made powerless. You know, it's the pristine awareness that, just like the movie screen on a movie, is not affected by the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There could be bombs going off on a
Yep.
TV, and the screen, it just doesn't mind. And so we come back to that unlimited self. We go, I had to go through that experience to arrive here. And if I'm left with gratitude, then there's no reason. I can't find a reason to recycle the past anymore. And now I'm just open. And instead of living to avoid, I'm living for infinite possibility. I'm living for the surprise of the unknown, which is really exciting. This is why people like roller coasters. Oh my God, what's it going to be like? I have so much anticipation. The mind's contracting, and then, okay, I'm going to surrender. Boom. And they're not necessarily in love with what happens on the ride, but then experiencing surrender to the unknown, because it's a total release of the separate self that says, I need to protect, I need to know.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Brandon. I'm just going to throw this in quickly, and you probably have had the similar experiences. When I had my car accident, I was before my 30s. I had a near-death experience, blah, blah, blah. When I came back, I lost my voice for a couple of months. And then they told me that my vertebrae was quicket all the way the other way around. And I'm going to be a vegetable, experiencing a vegetable life for the rest of my life. So what helped me at that moment when the doctor was saying this, first of all, I knew I lost my voice, right? I was writing for a while, but I didn't really dig into it that, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to talk again. I wanted to be a singer and an actress, blah, blah. I didn't got into that story. I said, okay, this is what has happened. And I accepted it right away, right? When it came to my physical body, I said to myself, I'm not going to live this story. I don't know where this story comes from. It's so real right now, but I knew somehow that I have a choice, and I chose not to believe that story. So I start building up my body. I was hurting. It was really difficult even at the beginning to move, and I was feeling all these aches and pain. But as I was exercising and working out, when the pain will come, I wouldn't butt into it. I would just separate myself from the pain. I would give myself constantly a new picture that I'm my old, healthy person, that I'm stronger. The pain will come. I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was seeing that vision that I'm so muscular and I have a six pack and and I did it. After that, I made 16 exercise DVDs. And I'm telling some people, I'm not bragging about it. I said, look, you guys are not willing to work on your physical body. This temple that has been lent to you for now, every day I have to tell them, did you exercise today? No, I'm going to start. No, they come up with so many excuses. And then they said my exercise DVDs are so difficult. I said, do you know that some of those DVDs, I did 3 of them in one day? Because they rent out a studio and I had to look pretty and I was mic'd, I couldn't breathe really hard. I said, I did 3 of them in one day. Where is it that we start believing our mind? We're going to think that we are our thoughts. So, epigenetics, cellular memories, all of these are saying that this is all in the subconscious mind. If we keep listening to our subconscious mind, we're going to lose the present moment. We're going to keep on going back to where we were blocked. We're going to keep on going back to our childhood, to our traumas. And I said, this is another way of the ego mind to trick you, to tell you you're broken, to make you believe your past, to gonna tell you that you have to go to the past to heal your wounds. And this is a never ending traps that you walk into, because as soon as you think you heal something, something else will come up. And as you will constantly be trying to fix the past that you know you can do anything about it. Sorry, I talk too much. I'm I'm giving up the floor to one of you guys. Jump in.
Jeff, you jump in whenever you like. You can stop me anytime you like. I just wanted to piggyback on what Brandon said. And, listen, when you guys are talking, I become the student. I hope you all know that.
Thank you. Try that.
It doesn't matter what kind of staff I hold, venerable or no venerable monk or no monk. I just love being a student. And what Brandon said was the practice of dependent origination, which is paticca samuppada in Buddhism. And basically, Brandon broke it down into one of the most beautiful and easiest way to understand the links of influence about causes and conditions. That's one of the key two words in Buddhism, causes and conditions. So basically, after we were born, and of course, with some heredity and genetics from our parents, we're pretty much like this blank slate, blank tape recorder, just like tape recorder, And so we just open our eyes and we're like, what on earth is happening here? It's cold in here. And then you start crying. And you see fights, you hear arguments, you feel the energy in the room. If mom and dad were not good for each other, if mom and dad were using drugs at the time of birth. And so like your whole life you've been conditioned, and the causes and conditions in regarding it. And so then comes later in life, you respond in a very angry way. You picked it up. Is it your fault? No. You got to question, tracing back, how your parents were and what the environment you grew up in. Additionally, I wanted to also say, and then the other thing that we spoke about was letting go. Like, how do we let go? That's the biggest subject of the century. How do we let go? Well, let's talk about the opposite, first of all. Well, the opposite of letting go is attachment, clinging on. Well, how do we cling? And why do we cling? When we look at the second noble truth, let's look at the three noble truths in like 2 seconds. The first one is there is life. There is birth, old age, disease, decay, and death. That's undeniable truth. Everyone experienced that. Look around. Okay. Number 2, we suffer as a direct result of desire. Okay. And number 3, which is nirvana, which is the path, which is enlightenment, which is if you don't want life to suck, stop wanting stuff. But then we slow down a little bit and go back to the second noble truth. What is it that you want? Yeah, we get that you want the Rolls Royce, the white car, the diamond ring, and all of that. But this is the want that is keeping you from letting go. So you were abused. Yes. You were abused sexually, emotionally, physically, emotionally, and so on. And as a direct result of that has transpired, that's already happened, you didn't want it to happen. And you keep on fighting yourself with, I can't believe I'm a victim. Again, it's the lawyer in your head. Yeah. Okay. I can't believe it happened. It should have never happened. How could he do that to me? How could he do that to me multiple times? He cussed me out. He called me a B word. Letting go is to try to understand why it happened. And then with secure in the knowledge that, they did wrong to you because they didn't know any better, so they couldn't do any better. They probably were abused too. That's why they took it out on you. You just happens to be probably at the wrong time. Just you can throw 100 scenarios about what happened. What is important is that compassion arises out of deep understanding. So when you understand the behavior of the person who did wrong to you, you're more likely to have compassion for them. And again, being mindful of it should have never happened to me. Why did it happen to me? We personalize this a lot. That causes suffering. Clinging on to me, my, and I, which is the practice of the non-self in Buddhism. So so I just wanted to comment on the letting go aspects of that, and not a lot of people really analyze the second noble truth, which is the desire part. How we continuously, perpetually, not want it to happen like that, but it already did. What good is it going to do if you keep on just recycling this over and over again? So using intelligence and wisdom, you can pretty much overcome this in the next moment of this whole thing.
Yep.
But I'd like to yield the floor back to you guys.
I just want to throw something else in there before you guys go. I just came back from a 2 weeks retreat in Turkey. And when I came back, I was jet lag and everything. My friends who picked me up, I said, can we stop at the store? To make a long story short, my wallet was stolen with my passport. Listen to this, all my identity, my passport, my driver license, all my credit card, and a lot of cash in it, right? So we called the police and they came, and the manager showed us the camera. As I was watching this, that I'm doing my shopping, and then I pick up my stuff, forget my wallet. There's a young lady who comes and she picks up my wallet, but she puts it back. And then the guy who is with her, at the end of their shopping, he takes my wallet and he throws it into their bag, and here they go. And as I was watching this, I thought, this is what I keep trying telling everybody else. The outer world is just a maya and an illusion. And now you're seeing this movie. It is really a movie. So I did my thing in the outer world. The police gave a report, and then I find that led into many, many other things, that I ended up going to the police stations, and they were supposed to assign a detective. And then I had to hear this whole story that the detective was telling me, yeah, you guys are taxpayers. When they were cutting off on police departments, you should have complained. Now I don't have a detective to put on your case and that stuff. In the meantime, and as he's telling me all this story, and I'm becoming very compassionate, I said, I totally get it. I understand. What can I do? How can we help? And then he said, do you see this gentleman over here? I said, yeah. He said, he got Alzheimer and he just lost $1 million. And I was like, oh my God, this made me feel so much better. I lost this much money. He lost $1 million. I'm just joking about this. But what I'm saying is, when we come from a different point of view, we don't constantly act in the outer world. I see this. Okay, everything is gone. I came back to myself in my silence, and I said, the first thing I said, live your teaching. Instead of getting frustrated and I said, what was the lesson in this? So I start tracking back from the beginning of time, when it came to me that I have to do a retreat, all the work that went through it, what was right, what was wrong, was I acting incorrectly somewhere, was there any injustice? And then I got this picture that when 2022 started, I did a live and I said, this is my prediction for 2022, that we cannot wing it anymore this year. You have to do everything with a solid ground, constructed, and do everything right to build everything. And I didn't live by it. I said, okay, I got it. Yes, I know what it is. And I moved on working on my business in much more productive way, changing people who are around me and all this thing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, and that was my story. By the way, Willie, I totally agreed. He said, if you are struggling to let go, it might mean you are holding on too tightly. Nicely said, Willie. Go on, guys.
I was going to jump in on a couple of things. I mean, I think that, there's a couple areas that I would explore. And one of those is, again, in this concept of cellular healing, that sounds like a very physical thing. That sounds to me, and I could be wrong, but that occurs to me as something that happens in physical space. But then I was like, well, one of the truths is that, we birth and we grow old, decay, and die. It's like, well, that occurs to me as the opposite of cellular healing. That occurs to me as the death of the cell. And then, we're saying, well, wait a minute, we want to separate our ego self and our physical self from our consciousness. And we start to get into a little bit more of a spiritual conversation there. And which is kind of what I said earlier about what exactly is it that we're driving towards. Because if we know that we're all going to grow old and die, that doesn't occur to me as healing. That now we can talk about emotion, which we know that we hold trauma in the body, and I get that's a little bit more about what this conversation's about. There were a couple of things that I thought were perhaps important, and that is when Tidal was talking about rock climbing, and he said people judge me aren't you supposed to be Zen? And I thought that was a funny thing to say, because for me, when I'm exerting massive physical effort, I think I'm at my most Zen. I've typically had the most challenge meditating when I'm sitting still doing nothing. I can achieve a much cleaner mental state and a much emptier mind if I'm working physically really hard at something. Because I think that, and it's this idea of perhaps trapping thoughts and emotions in our physical body. And for me, it's cycling. So, I'm here in Los Angeles and there's some hills here, and I'm a pretty amateur cyclist. But if I'm working really, really hard at pushing that bike up that hill, my body is not remembering a lot of my emotional problems. It's remembering a lot of my immediate physical problems, which is getting that bike up that hill. So I think that there's, perhaps...
Jeff, can I just cut you out for a second and throw something there? As you know better than I do, that when we engage in any kind of physical activities, all the hormones in our brains are changing. You're producing massive endorphins, serotonin, and all that. So, of course, you're just switching. Your brain is switching, even the replacement of thoughts and feelings and all that.
Right, and that's a good thing to bring up, to kind of weave that into this, is that, again, on a physical level, this is the most powerful chemical plant lab in existence. And so when we are under stress, depression, all these things, we're producing, all of the bad chemicals that are destroying our body. And, what we want to do ourselves in these environments where our brain is producing the good chemicals, which are going to help repair our body and stimulate a more vital system. The other thing that I wanted to point out is, in talking about things like a retreat or having a coach or a guide or something like that, and it's not a sales pitch, it's just a commentary, is that when we put ourselves in certain environments, it's like we block off time. And it's like we don't do that in other ways in our life as intentionally. So if I go to a retreat for a day or a weekend, or if I were to join a monastery as a lifestyle, you're really taking yourself out of one environment and intentionally putting yourself into another. So, when we're talking about, we're painting a really rosy picture for people. We're painting a really rosy picture of, just separate this and focus on that and the this, that, and the other. And it all starts to sound really wonderful. And then, your mail comes and there's a bill. And you're like, oh, well, you know what? Forget that rosy conversation. I got this bill right in front of me and I got to
Jeff, Jeff, I'm so sorry. I got to cut you off. No. I don't agree with this.
You never agree with that.
I know we never agree, but here is why we have a different way. I just gave you a simple story that would just happen to me. And you know what happened, right? I lost everything. I lost a lot of cash. I lost my passport. I lost all of this. In that very moment, I was just like, look at this movie. I didn't become reactive with all the money and this and that and all the trouble that I have to go to get a passport or renew my driver or get my driver license. No. That's where we think differently.
Well,
You always get dragged in with this story.
I would respond that if you let me finish, you'd hear the point that I was trying to make. So often we can get tied into these things. So when we block off time to focus, for example, if we go to a retreat where somebody's guiding us, often what that can do is it frees up our mind. I know that's happened to me. I know that when I've had, when I've specifically hired somebody or I've gone somewhere for a weekend, when I'm there, all of this stuff, even let me kind of add more to that. Even if it's something like going for that bike ride that I talked about, going to a concert, doing something where you've blocked off time to focus on that, you're intentionally focusing on that and letting somebody else kind of compute the brain cycles for you. So if I'm sitting there with a guide or a teacher, and they're going to, let's say do a guided meditation with me, or they're going to coach me or walk me through something, what that's doing is it's kind of alleviating me of the brain cycles that I have to spend and giving that to somebody else. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there and weave that in as an ad, that it is often good to it's great to have people it's always good to have a guide. I think all of us here do. I know I do. I have multiple. So it's always good to have somebody that you can help you walk through things versus simply saying, I listened to some people talk, I read something in a book, or I watched a video, and now I'm going to go tackle all of these issues in my life and process them.
Yeah, Jeff and Sudi, I just want to piggyback off this. It's really good. So, Jeff, what I'm hearing from you is creating a pattern interrupt, a space, being with a teacher, a different environment, widely is a great way to turn someone in a different direction of thinking. And Sudi, what I hear from you is being able to watch a movie isn't a thought. You're not sitting there going, I'm watching a movie now. You're just watching the movie. And I think there's the first phase of being able, because I think we can all agree, it's peaceful to just watch the movie and not want to change and control. And if we could all click a button and just let ourselves watch a movie, that's what we would choose.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first phase is a journey. How do I get to watching a movie? How do I go there? And it's positioned as something we do. And that can be really helpful because it does lead people to teachers and practices and breath work and meditation and cycling or some sort of doing of the self. But that still has to create a separate self. We still have to sustain the I in traveling to there. And it's not a bad or wrong thing. It's a very human thing. And it is a phase of, man, every time I, this body, mind, do this thing or this activity, or focus on this, or I'm around this teacher, I have a moment of relief. And the moment of relief is a release of a practice contraction, a practice way of thinking and feeling that feels in the body like a contraction. It's a release of that. And we think that the activity and the teacher is, or we don't, but often many people can think that they are the source of the release. Well, when I do this, I get this result, like an equation. You know, if I plug this in and add this, then I end up here. Now that's a really great, we're already in the 1% if we're taking on all of our challenges that way, and it's ending in a good result. But it can, and I've done this in my own experience, when I had to do an hour of meditation, 30 minutes of breath work, 45 minutes of working out every single day, or I couldn't get on with clients because I wasn't empowered enough, energized enough, because I was judging my sense of self based on the state of my thinking and feeling alone. So I was still very occupied with, well, if I'm more energized and thinking and feeling a certain way, then that's good, that's heaven. If I'm thinking and feeling this way, that's hell. And I'm still in a duality. There's still an effort to be one over the other. And I think the next phase, and what Sudi you're kind of pointing to, is the relief and then the experience of open awareness isn't something that I do. It's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's instead of, it's like what I do is go be a human and ride a bike. Humaning, being the self of the past, that's something I'm doing. But what I am is experienced directly in the release of who I am. In the absence of who I am is this deeper sense of self, which is awareness. And the important distinction is to really, for yourself, don't take it from me, but for yourself, recognize that awareness does not share in the limitations of body. It is not diminished by anything that is going on in the body, by certain thoughts, by certain patterns. It is not aggrandized by having a healthy, vibrant body or having a really clear mind. It is totally open, still, stable, peaceful awareness. And so when I abide as that, I'm not looking for happiness from the world. Mm-hmm. Happiness is there in the absence of looking for it in the world. So I'm just validating. I see, Jeff, you're speaking, it's almost like a tantric approach, which would be, let me really embrace life and practices and processes and tools, and Sudi more in the direct Vedantic approach. And what I found for most people is the understanding of Advaita, or even in Buddhism, all is Buddha mind. Just that one statement, everything is the Buddha mind, is the same as saying you are Brahman. There's only one thing. That ultimate absolute understanding, when known, then we can go in processes and techniques and tools, not to create an outcome, but for the joy of it, for the fun of it, for the excitement of it, for the process itself. Or we're just looking for another outcome and secretly looking for happiness in that outcome, and we'll never find it.
Brandon, thank you so much for clarifying it more. I just want to add this one little piece to it. It takes awareness and a choice. This is what I said. I have to constantly, every second, this is an awareness that has to be here, that I choose. Do I want to be asleep or do I want to be awake? I think where we go wrong is most people don't take the responsibility from up here, that am I responsible enough to know that awareness is right here? In awareness, there's nothing that I have to do. I don't have to be doing anything. And the real me is the whole awareness. But what happens is people get separated from the awareness, and they don't choose to be aware, choose awareness, being conscious over being unconscious. So here is start. So where we're having this argument with Jeff is that I am saying, if you choose awareness, which is not easy. This comes by daily practice, that every second I choose to be aware. And if you take this responsibility to choose to be awake, to choose to be aware, now whatever is going on in your reality, and I gave an example. I said, when I lost my wallet with all my identities and cash and all of this stuff, I have two ways. Now, this comes from awareness and what part of the brain I choose to act and react. Instead of getting dragged into that and making that into a drama, I come from the other side and I said, okay, how else can I act? And I say to myself, I said, I'm going to let that go. I'm not going to allow that energy drag that energy on. What I'm going to choose right now is, how can I be much more organized, much more conscious, much more aware, and make 10 times more money than what I have lost? Generally, what happened, people are going, oh, as Jeff is saying, oh, the bill is coming. Now that the bill is coming, I'm going to be dragged into that. I don't have enough money in my bank to pay the bill. I'm saying, instead of getting dragged in this story, let that story alone and come to your awareness and say, how can I make so much money that I never have to experience lack of money and a bill that comes that I'm just going to be, oh my God, dragging? I think this is the parts that we think differently, that I'm saying, if you know the mind, if you understand the mind, you can overcome it. Don't let the mind create your reality. You become the superhuman, that this only happens with a higher consciousness. When you're awake, then you realize you are the one who is creating your reality.
Sudi, let me just mention here for 1 minute, and I'll pass it to someone else, that losing money, I just lost. I can't really believe it's a loss, but I lost $5,000 in an investment, and not for a moment. And I've had many times where I've bought into loss, but not for a moment in this experience did I actually feel, most importantly, in my body, like I lost something. And it's for the reason that I have had a genuine self-investigation of what I essentially am, that says that awareness can't be taken from me. What is essential to me, the only unchanging, only consistent aspect of my experience, can't be taken. There can be no loss of what is truly essential to me. And what is truly essential to me is a source, I would say the only source of happiness. So if I really get honest, why do I want that money? For, my mind might say safety, security, options, or what I want all that. Freedom, happiness. Okay, well, I know that the money can't give me happiness, therefore I know it can't take away happiness. But if I get captured by my thinking, then I will create proof of that reality. But if I can go back to that essential part of me, and this is the turning, instead of going towards experience, we turn towards ourselves. And in that turning, there's a giving up of effort and a revealing of safety, security, openness, freedom, happiness. Now, without it, and often you could feel, and this is how I felt, I'm sure, Sudi, you experienced this too, you could feel 10 times more empowered than you were with the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going, oh, wow, what a reminder of what I don't need. Why is it not what I need? Because I don't have it. So if I'm going to want something, I'm going to want reality as it is. And when I want reality to be as it is, that's another way of saying I don't want anything to change.
Bravo. Trido, I know you want to jump in. Go ahead.
You're muted.
You're mute.
It is what it is, and it can't be what it ain't. Money or no money. You have no money and you want money, one causes suffering. In Buddhism, less is more. Less is more in Buddhism. Spiritual path is easier when we want a little bit less and have enough. If you have enough to survive, enough to get by, enough for your tummy to not be hungry, and enough to keep the light on, you're golden. You're more than billions of people in the world. So the middle way of wanting. So, today's topic was very necessary as we're bringing everybody up to date to the latest available science in healing cellular memory. And wonderful, both of you are highly, highly intelligent and a wealth of information from different perspectives. The results, you will see the results when you try everything that our medical professionals have told you to try, which is eat right, sleep right, exercise. Those are the basic things we all can agree on.
Right? And breathe.
And
so often people forget this part.
Yeah, that's our specialty as monks, is the breathing aspect of it. And of course, you're going to need to see the multitude of things that needs to be done to keep the mind and body alive, healthy, functioning. Having a date with the couch that long in the day is not a good thing. Obesity is not a good thing. A lot of the too much sugar is not a good thing. One must look at the middle way of extremism. But, again, I think some of them are going to be asking, well, how well has it worked out for you, Jidao? And, you take all sorts of steps to heal my body from a cellular level. And, luckily I grab my phones with me when I do it. One of them is laying out on the beach and just tuning into the sound of the ocean. You remember that, Sudi, when 800 people on TikTok was watching, just watching these, like...
I forgot. I forgot you're a TikTok celebrity, Trido.
And I hope to inspire all of you buying through my own change, inspiring all of you buying through my own practice, because it worked. If it's not working, I wouldn't be in Rhodes. If it's not working, I would be out and about smoking weed, walking down Fifth Street right now. But it's working out. And again, if I guess you all have to go back and retrace, my chronological timeline to see, how I immigrated. I saw domestic violence in the home, trauma, abuse, addiction. I went through all of that. But I mean, do I look 35 to all of you?
Yes. I thought you were older.
This particular practice worked out, the art of letting go. And there are so many stories of me letting go of my best friend. I dated Christina, and Christina cheated on me with my best friend, and how I showed up with my best friend's work. And it was not a very happy scenery, and I had choices to make that day. I had split-second choices to make. He had no way out, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Very angry young man back then at age 20-something, 22, 23 years old. And I looked at Kevin and I said, I just want to let you know that I forgive you. And I turned around and I walked. And after I walked away, about a week later, he gave me 4 pages of an apology and explanation of what happened. But just because wanting it to be different than what has already transpired is not going to do any justice for anyone. But the fact that I've let go so much and so many times in my life, to forgive and ask for forgiveness is one of the most beautifulest things Christ taught you, and Buddha reminds you over and over again will lead you to not feeling like hell and not looking like hell. After you've been through hell, trust me, you don't want to go back. You don't want to replicate over and over again. So take care of your mind, take care of your body. Take it very seriously. Stress does in fact kill. No, don't deny that fact. When we teach death meditation, it's funny when one of our scholars teach death meditation, he has to bring up evidences of death, and I'm like, what? Well, that people are in denial of the most obvious things. The impact happen to you quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly, tomorrow, in the next moment, you can die of a heart attack right now. We have a variety of meditations that shake you up, and for you to take things seriously. Study what needs to be studied, practice what needs to be practiced, and know what needs to be known. Cultivate yourself as the wise, cultivate yourself as the noble. Walk the noble and wise, intelligent path. And you will see your body change on a cellular level, simply put. What is good is always going to be good. And what is not good, like too much weed, too much of it, is not going to be good. In the middle way, find a balance and hope to live a long, healthy life. You live life skillfully, and in your older days, in your more seasoned age, you can relive it again. When you give more and take less, the practice of generosity, the practice of renunciation, all of the practices described in Buddhism, the methodology, will lead you to true inner happiness, true inner liberation, and true inner freedom. So, I just wanted to give that last peek from a Buddhist standpoint and from a human intelligence standpoint. I think everyone who's listening here today is very intelligent, and you're here for a reason. You're here because you want. It's the best want, by the way. Out of all the wants, out of all the desires that constitute suffering, the desire for liberation is one of the best desire to have. And you all are here sharing it. And very, very grateful to have these gentlemen and Miss Sudi to, give it their all, and so generous in the information that they have provided for all of us to reconsider where we're at in life and to consider where we want to go and who is in there, who we want to go with. So hopefully everyone take all of our standpoint seriously, and stop wasting time and stop fighting with the lawyer in your head, the one that did not go to law school, the one that did not graduate law school and is not board certified.
Thank you, Trido. Brandon, to wrap it off, would you like to put the last note?
I'm just grateful for the space. I think I've said everything that's wanted to be said. Thank you for the invitation, and I learned a lot from each of you, so I appreciate being here.
Jeff?
I have nothing to add. It's great. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure to have all of you. Have a lovely, blessed day, and we'll see you all next Thursday, same time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Okay.